Ever wondered how client requests are handled in web development? Let's dive into the world of client-server communication to unravel this mystery. In the vast realm of web development, when a client, which could be your web browser, sends a request to a server, this request carries key information about the resource it desires. This could include the URL, HTTP method, headers, and so on. The server, upon receiving this request, kicks into action to process it and generate a response that's just right. This response is then sent back to the client, completing a full cycle of request and response. This intricate dance of information exchange is not only fascinating, but forms the backbone of client-server communication in web development. The beauty lies in its simplicity and efficiency, enabling the seamless operation of web applications we interact with daily. And that, friends, is the magic behind the scenes. This process forms the backbone of client-server communication in web development. Now, let's dive into the world of servlets. Picture a group of industrious workers tirelessly managing the flow of information between a client and a server. This is the role of servlets in the realm of web development. They're Java classes that extend the capabilities of web servers, primarily by handling client requests and generating dynamic responses. Think of a web server as a bustling city, and servlets as the intricate network of roads, bridges, and tunnels that facilitate the smooth flow of traffic. They're deployed on the server running within a special environment known as a servlet container, such as Apache Tomcat. This container is like the city's traffic control center, managing the life cycle of servlets and ensuring incoming HTTP requests are handled efficiently. Servlets can handle a wide variety of requests, including GET, POST, PUT, DELETE, and others. They're like the multi-talented workers of our city, capable of performing tasks ranging from processing form data, interacting with databases, to generating dynamic content. Their versatility makes them ideal for implementing business logic and processing tasks on the server side. The beauty of servlets lies in their adaptability. They aren't limited to handling a specific type of request or performing a fixed set of tasks. Instead, they can be programmed to handle any client request, making them a vital part of any Java-based web application. It's also worth noting that servlets aren't standalone entities. They're part of a larger ecosystem, working in tandem with technologies like Java Server Pages or JSP to create dynamic interactive web applications. While servlets handle the heavy lifting on the server side, JSP takes care of the presentation layer, generating dynamic HTML content to be sent back to the client. So, servlets are essentially the workhorses that handle and process client requests on the server. And like any good workhorse, they're reliable, adaptable, and capable of carrying a heavy load, making them an indispensable tool in the world of web development. Servlets have a life cycle, much like any living organism. This life cycle consists of specific stages, each governed by a particular method. These methods are init, service, and destroy. Let's start with the init method. This method is called only once during the life cycle of a servlet, right after the servlet is loaded into memory. It's the equivalent of a baby's first cry, signaling the beginning of life. The init method is typically used for initialization tasks that need to be performed only once, maybe to set up a database connection or to read configuration parameters. Next, we move to the service method, the workhorse of the servlet. This method is called every time a client sends a request to the servlet. It's like an adult going to work every day, handling the daily grind. The service method takes two arguments, an HTTP servlet request object and an HTTP servlet response object. The HTTP servlet request object contains information about the client request, such as the HTTP method, headers, and payload. The HTTP servlet response object is used to formulate the server's response. The service method dispatches the request to appropriate methods such as do-get, do-post, and so on, based on the HTTP method of the request. Finally, we arrive at the destroy method. This method is called just once, right before the servlet is taken out of service. It's the sunset of the servlet's life cycle, a time to release resources and perform cleanup tasks. The destroy method is typically used to close database connections, stop threads, or perform other cleanup operations. So, to recap, the servlet is born with the init method, lives its life with the service method, and finally says goodbye with the destroy method. It's a cycle of birth, life, and death, all within the confines of a web server. Understanding the Servlet lifecycle helps us better manage server resources and optimize performance. It gives us a clear roadmap of when and where to perform specific tasks, leading to more efficient and effective web applications. Now let's explore Java Server Pages, or JSP. An integral part of the Java technology family, JSP is a server-side programming technology that enables the creation of dynamic, data-driven web pages. JSP is essentially HTML, XML, or other types of document with Java code pieces embedded within. The magic of JSP lies in its simplicity. It allows developers to embed Java code directly into the HTML, creating a seamless blend of presentation logic with business logic. This makes the process of developing web applications significantly more streamlined and efficient, especially when compared to the traditional methods of web development. Now you might be wondering, how does JSP work? Well, JSP pages are not served to the client as they are. Instead, they are first compiled into servlets by the server, or more accurately, the Servlet container. This happens at runtime, which means when the page is requested. The Servlet container is responsible for this conversion process. It reads the JSP file, processes the embedded Java code, and then transforms the JSP page into a Java servlet. This servlet is then compiled, and the business logic contained within it is executed. The result is a web page filled with dynamic content, ready to be sent back to the client. This way, JSP brings together the best of both worlds. It allows for the power and flexibility of Java servlets, along with the ease and simplicity of embedding this code directly into the HTML. The result is a dynamic web page that can change and adapt based on user input, database interactions, or other data sources. However, JSP is not just about embedding Java code into HTML. It also provides several other features, such as directives, scripting elements, and standard actions, that further simplify web application development. These features offer a higher level of abstraction over servlets, making JSP a powerful tool for creating interactive and dynamic web content. JSP pages thus serve as the face of our application, creating dynamic and interactive web pages. With JSP, web developers can focus more on designing the user interface and less on writing intricate server-side code. This is the beauty and power of Java Server Pages. Let's bring it all together and see how Servlets and JSP handle client requests. Enter Servlets, the server-side gatekeepers. When an HTTP request arrives, Servlets intercept it like a diligent postmaster. They scrutinize the request details, whether it's a GET, POST, PUT, or DELETE operation. Based on this examination, they perform necessary processing tasks. This could be anything from authenticating user credentials, validating data, performing complex computations, or engaging in a lively exchange with databases. Once the servlet has processed the request, it then decides on the next course of action. The request might be a simple one, for which the servlet can generate a response directly. Or it could be a more complex request that requires a dynamic response. In such cases, the servlet acts like a relay runner, passing the baton to a JSP page to take the response generation forward. This relay race is where the power of JSP shines through. JSP pages are like artists waiting to paint a masterpiece with data. They take the processed data from servlets and embed it within HTML markup. This allows JSP pages to generate dynamic web content, creating web pages that are as lively and responsive as the data they represent. Let's take an example. Suppose a user logs into an online shopping platform. The login request is intercepted by a servlet, which validates the user credentials. Once validated, the servlet retrieves the user's shopping history from the database and forwards this data to a JSP page. The JSP page then uses this data to create a personalized shopping page for the user, displaying their shopping history, recommended products, and so on. This is the beauty of using servlets and JSP together. They divide and conquer, with servlets handling the heavy lifting of processing requests, and JSP beautifying the response with dynamic content. It's a match made in web development heaven, bringing together the best of both worlds: efficient request processing and dynamic response generation. With Servlets and JSP, we have a powerful toolkit to handle client requests and deliver dynamic web content. Let's summarize what we've learned today. We've delved into the heart of web development, exploring how client-server communication is facilitated. This process begins with a client sending a request containing all necessary information about the desired resource. The server receives this request and uses server-side technologies, like Servlets and Java server pages, to process it. Servlets, essentially Java classes, extend the functionality of servers, handling requests and dynamically generating responses. They operate within a servlet container, and their lifecycle includes initialization, service and destruction phases. On the other hand, Java server pages, or JSP, simplify the creation of dynamic web pages. They allow developers to embed Java code directly into HTML pages, marrying presentation logic with business logic. Together, Servlets and JSP orchestrate a seamless interaction between the client and the server. Servlets intercept and process incoming requests, while JSP pages generate dynamic content based on the processed data. Next time you interact with a web application, remember the intricate dance of Servlets and JSP that makes it all possible.